Hey folks, this is Rob welcoming you back to vidIQ for a brand new series called vidIQ Interviews. We take a video creator and talk about their YouTube life. Now, this is a trial episode, so we love to know what your thoughts are, whether we ask the right questions, if the interview was too long or too short, and of course whether you would be interested in a future interview and to take part in more vidIQ live interview sessions. So let us know in the comments below. That's it from me. Let's get to the interview. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of vidIQ Interviews. This is episode 2, so we're still in the testing phases of this series. If you do have any feedback, do let us know. We are interviewing in this particular episode somebody who you may not have heard of yet unless you've watched our case study on this channel. It's Stef ABtv, and one of the reasons we're interested in this channel is because, well, I banked my t-shirt on the fact that in 12 months' time, this channel is going to have at least 50,000 subscribers, or I will have to eat one of my vidIQ t-shirts. So I just want to welcome Stef ABtv to the channel. His name is actually Stef. Hello to you.
Hi, Rob.
So, Stef, well, I always talk about people's origin stories on YouTube. So what's yours?
So I guess Stef ABtv came from previous to YouTube. I used to I started off on Instagram, and I had an Instagram handle called StefABtv, which was generated because obviously of my love for the Abarth brand and the car itself that I bought. And even 4 months prior to that, I guess I used to go to loads of the car shows, and I really started to think to myself, actually, you know, this is a really, really cool community to be a part of, and I want to start sharing that across, you know, the internet. And that's kind of where it all came about. And I created Stef ABtv as my YouTube channel because I thought, you know, if I was to ever explode on YouTube, or if my growth was to, you know, grow over time, if I called it StefABtv and I was to ever sell the car, that would almost be the death of my channel. So that's kind of where Stef ABtv came from.
When I thought of Stef ABtv, I was thinking of automobile, but it is actually about the Abarth brand as such, which we'll probably go into in a bit more detail. And it's interesting that you talk about Abarth, because the next question I always ask YouTubers is, as it's always an important question, is like, who is your target audience and your value proposition? Or to put it another way, who should be watching your channel and why?
Yes. So I mean, naturally, I think the key audience for me when I started the channel was people who are, one, either interested in buying an Abarth themselves, understanding a bit more about the scene, the automotive scene around the Abarth communities. But more so, I think what you'll end up finding with whether it's the Abarth scene or any automotive scene, it's the group of people that make it. And that's kind of the insight I wanted to bring people along on the journey with me when it comes to YouTube. So I guess people who should be watching my channel are people who want to know more information about the Italian cars, the Abarth in particular, but also around the emotion behind the automotive scene and what characteristics it brings, and why people have such an involvement and such a passion in just going to a car show and watching cars being parked up. Because I think sometimes people find that a little difficult to understand unless you're a real petrol head like us. So bringing people along on the journey has been part of the main driver. So, and obviously if you fancy buying an Abarth, then my channel will give you absolutely everything you need to know about a specific car brand.
Yeah. So obviously your passion is very much driven by a particular type of car. Why the Abarth specifically, and do your moods tend to change? Like you said that if you sell the Abarth, that could have been a death of your channel, but why the Abarth specifically? Because obviously for me and many of the people watching your videos, they won't necessarily know too much about the specific car, but they can see your passion and why you love it so much.
Yeah, and I think prior to starting YouTube, I've had quite a few cars, different brands, and I've been involved in significant automotive car shows, etc. As a person just attending them. And the reason I ended up in an Abarth was actually because I'm trying to be sensible and I'm thinking about buying a house in the future. So I almost had to downgrade my car to, at the time, what I thought was a sporty little hatchback, which is just going to be something that will keep me going until I buy a property. But what that car gave me is it kind of helped me relive my youth when I had the smaller hot hatches back in the day. And also the character it brings, the emotion it brings, and the people who all are attracted connected to the brand. It's the whole Italian car scene in general is something that, you know, it just oozes passion, and you know, you can see it from the likes of Formula One. You know, when you go to the Monza racing circuit, you can see the fans and how passionate they are for the sport. And it's a very similar thing with the Italian automotive lifestyle, if you like, and that's something that I really wanted to start sharing across on YouTube.
So if we try and put a bath as a niche topic into context, how many, I guess, a bath owners are there in the world? Like, how many cars are manufactured and how many are sold? And in terms of the community that you have when you meet people out in real life, what sort of numbers are we talking about here? Because obviously in my case study, we talked that a bath is a really niche topic, but it's one that you're able to dominate.
Yeah, and I think it's quite difficult for me to put a real number on worldwide sales and worldwide numbers of cars that are sold. But I think to put it into context, the UK community, and I think they sell around 5,000 to 6,000 cars a year. But even more so, the people that evolve around those communities. You know, there are Facebook pages with the bath owners, which are around 9,000-10,000 people, all who are passionate about those cars. And that's just in the UK. You start to look over in the States, which the brand isn't as known out there, but it's still part of Fiat, which is a very well-known, reputable brand pretty much across the whole of the world. And it's still a relatively small industry that is growing. You know, it's quite small right now, but over time it's starting to grow, and you're starting to see a lot more automotive videos come about from a bath. And I look at a very good example, which I just saw a couple of days ago, is that J-Lo's new song actually features in a bath, which is something 3 or 4 years ago you would have never thought about. So a bath are really starting to branch out. So whilst it's a very small niche market at the moment, there are opportunities for it to grow.
I was going to say, that sounds like some sort of interesting tie-in video you can do along the lines of that.
Yeah. Exactly that. I was going to say there's an opportunity, as you mentioned in your last video, for me to use the keywords and the audience that I already have a foothold in, and use the opportunity to branch out into another audience.
Absolutely.
The music industry. Who knows?
I've heard this term called a warp trend, where you take one topic that you're really passionate and keen and have a foothold in, as you say, and then trying to link it to something else, which is almost completely in another field, but you can somehow work it into your content, and that's like a perfect opportunity that's presented itself there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned briefly that there are Facebook pages and other interest groups outside of YouTube. Are you quite active in those areas as well, to kind of like spread your influence and your personality elsewhere, which hopefully might bring them back to YouTube?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my YouTube channel is its own entity effectively, but I very heavily involve myself around Instagram, and also amongst the Facebook communities, particularly the Bath and Fiat community. I almost use it as an opportunity to almost self-promote. I don't want to come across as a hard salesman, but there are opportunities there to potentially find an audience that may not necessarily have seen my channel and say, look, if this is something you guys are interested in, there's an opportunity for you to maybe watch some of my videos. And that in itself supports me and my own channel growth, but also hopefully gives people more of an insight, some who are on the fence, who are thinking about making that move, and hopefully potentially, my videos will help them make that decision.
So yeah, great tip for anyone watching this: that try not to be insular with your channel. Don't just focus on your channel. Contribute to the wider community of the topic that you're covering, which is a really good thing to do. So we'll move now on to your audience a bit more specifically, and this is something that came into my head when I was watching your content. That you're a small channel currently, but you have what might be called an unfair advantage, and you're able to have access to these luxury cars, or you have this not luxury car but this sporty car yourself, which might be perceived as viewers might say, well, I can't make a video on Ferraris or Lamborghinis because I don't have access to them. How might you respond to that type of criticism if it were to come your way?
Yeah, and I think it's a fair challenge, but I think the pretty much all of the car shows that I've attended are car shows that anybody can go to. And I don't necessarily think that you have to own a specific car that you're passionate about. If you're passionate about something, you don't necessarily have to own it, but if you can
Yeah.
talk about it and you have, you know, real passion for it, then that will come across in your videos. But with regards to the accessibility, I think it's available to anybody if you want to go. You know, a lot of the stuff like the luxury cars that you showed in the last video of the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris, that was just in a high street. That was on a high street in central London, and it was the start of a rally which happens every year, and a couple of thousand people turned up to that on an early Sunday morning, and anybody could have filmed it. And I think the important thing to note is that some of the biggest and most successful automotive YouTube channels, they all started off with a camera standing on Sloane Street in central London, just recording cars going by. And that's kind of how they began. So access is one of those things that if you've got the drive and you fancy standing around in the cold when it's winter and you've got the dedication, you can do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that is the perfect answer. Like, every YouTuber has been at some point, whether they've had 1 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers, and they need to move from one point to the next. And that's just that drive and that determination to get the shot you need, or to contact the people you need to contact. And you're just putting yourself out there and getting access to these things and slowly progressing on that front, which is awesome. So now moving on to something which, again, we're talking about a privilege, but almost like a privilege that you've developed through a year's worth of YouTube making. Like, one of the videos that I saw was, I'm not going to get the model number out. Was it an Abarth 124, like the convertible?
That's the one.
car?
Yeah.
Where you had some footage where I assume you were driving the car, and either you were controlling a drone like 300 feet in the air, and it looked astonishing. And I'll probably put that clip on screen now as we're talking about it. How are you able to do these things? Like, did you have previous film experience before starting a YouTube channel? Like, where has this talent come from?
Firstly, thank you, because that's probably one video that I probably put the most effort across the whole of the channel, that specifically. So I'm glad that you found that one. I've never had any real experience in the past with regards to any form of film production, any form of presentation, anything like that. And I think if you watch my first video, you probably see that. But what's sensible, I guess, with anyone who, you know, is doing YouTube, the bulk of that kind of stuff comes with confidence and experience. And I think the longer you do something, the more, or well, as that saying, you do something for so long, you get good at it. And whilst I've only been doing it for a year, I've spent a significant amount of hours playing around with cameras, trying to find the best shot, recording numerous videos that I haven't actually used. I've just looked at it and thought, I'm not happy with that. And then you take the learnings. But that specific video that you're referring to now, I think I planned it the day before for approximately 3 hours, just with a notepad, thinking about what I wanted that scene to look exactly like, finding the roads, making sure that the music married up with the drone shots. And unfortunate for me, the girlfriend at the time, well, at the time she still is my girlfriend, but yeah, she helped me with some of the shots, but bulk of that was all my thought process. And fortunately, with drones nowadays, you can have them do preset flight modes, which helps massively, particularly if you're the point of interest.
So have you unearthed like a passion for filmmaking in that case? Like, you say you spend 3 hours planning this particular shot and an enormous amount of time getting the shot right. Is that something that maybe you've discovered this just through the YouTube making, or was that something you always wanted to try, and YouTube was a gateway to start filmmaking?
No, to be honest, Rob, it never came across my mind to, that honestly, I didn't think that if you said to me a year ago that I would have been able to produce, what you might have just shown a second ago, that specific clip, I would never have thought that. But I think the more I started to do it, and across, the last 11 months or so that I've created the videos for the channel, I've started to see things that I thought, that's really, really good, but it would have been even better if it had a little bit more of this. And over time, you just start to add a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. And then you get to the point you think, I really enjoy this. And now I'm at that point where I'm thinking I almost want all of my videos to be to that standard, which makes it even more of a challenge when you're thinking about the next video, because there are so many more variables to consider when creating the content now.
Cool. What could you give us a brief rundown of what equipment you were using then at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. And for that specific shot, I was using a Sony WX500 camera, which is effectively what I like to call the poor man's G7X. Those who want a vlogging style camera with a flip up screen, that's kind of a nice entry level camera. I use 2 GoPros, one to stick on the back of the car, one for the interior, the inside of the car, and also a DJI Spark drone, a tiny little thing, which we've had a couple of discussions off camera that I almost lost it when I was filming that because it's so small and the wind was blowing it across the mountain area. So that was an interesting point where, you know, you spend all that time filming and then that one clip that you need and you worry the drone's going to fly off into the distance. And so, yeah, I got a bit nervous at that point.
I've heard people such as Casey Neistat say that you shouldn't worry about using drones and equipment as like fragile, really expensive pieces of equipment. Like it's there to be used and almost abused. And if you don't do that, then you won't get like the shots that you've got. Like you took a risk of it blowing away, but it worked and you got exactly what you needed. If we move now from your video editing skills, which are obviously developing and you have a passion for continuing to develop that, the same question now about you as an individual, a personality. Again, when I was watching your content, you have this on-screen camera presence. Like it feels like I'm watching, well, don't take this as an insult, but I'm watching Richard Hammond or James May or somebody else on Top Gear. Feel so comfortable and natural talking about something that they're really passionate about. Again, any previous experience on that, or is it just something that comes naturally to you?
No, no real previous experience. I think for me there was a turning point on my channel where I started to really, well, one, obviously the subscribers and the viewers started to come, which naturally helped build my own confidence and ability in front of the camera. Because you always, with any YouTube channel, whether you're starting out, the biggest fear you'll have is, you know, am I going to come across okay on camera? What are people going to think? And that's always the part that you need to overcome. And being an automotive YouTuber, I wouldn't be able to just create videos at home. That's not, that wasn't my value proposition. I wanted to get out and about with the community. So I would have had to have done public video, public vlogging. And I think it was video 3 on my YouTube channel where I just thought, it was like Christmas last year, and I just turned around and thought, if I'm going to be any good at this and I'm going to be presentable in front of the camera, I just need to take the plunge and go out in public and just hold the camera up and just go for it. I can't tell you how nerve-wracking that was, but about 10 seconds into that video where I just started walking through a shopping center, holding a camera up and realizing actually, if you're focusing directly on what's important, which is the camera lens and the people that you're trying to connect with, everything around you is just kind of white noise and you kind of forget about it. And that's always kind of been the stance I've taken when I'm now recording the video, is I'm trying to visualize the people I'm talking to. And I'm hoping that that's coming across on camera, because it feels like rather than talking to a lens, I feel like I'm talking to an audience. And I guess that's the kind of way you need to try and position it. And that's what I'm personally trying to position.
I think that's the most interesting and best advice I've ever heard, that you just do it. And then 10 seconds in, like you say, it comes naturally and everything around you becomes white noise as long as you're keeping an eye on what's in front of you so you don't hit it, I guess. Now, I briefly mentioned Top Gear, and I'm sure that's something that the majority of viewers will have heard of even if they don't watch it, as it's a global program. It's sometimes watching your videos is like watching a segment on Top Gear. Is that a fair comparison? And is that the type of content you're striving towards, presentation-wise?
Honestly, I'm very flattered to hear that, Rob. Absolutely. If to be compared to a segment of Top Gear, it makes me quite proud. I won't lie. I love, the fact that, people who are watching my videos can even compare it to the likes of Top Gear it makes me feel very happy about what I'm doing, and it gives me the motivation to keep going. I think where I want to get to with the channel, looking, the next year, the next 12 months, is continuing this, what I'm doing, branch out potentially to a large audience in terms of Italian cars. I would love to be in a position where, I could present at an Italian car show. That would be absolutely awesome to be able to introduce the lineup of cars, almost kind of like a grid walk for a Silverstone Grand Prix. Who knows what the future could bring? But absolutely, that kind of stuff, linking it to Top Gear. it's exactly what I'm trying to achieve. And I think the great thing about what I'm trying to do is that there are so many channels out there at the moment who are doing similar stuff with regards to the likes of supercars, but there aren't as many channels doing it to the more affordable cars that people actually can go to a dealership and buy without thinking, maybe if I have to sell my kids and my house, I might be able to afford that McLaren. And, you know, bringing that kind of journey along with all of the people who are watching the videos is exactly that. And to compare it to Top Gear is amazing. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Oh, I think you deserve it. And I'm sure a lot of people who watch your content will say this, well, will think the same thing without actually saying it. You briefly mentioned that other YouTube channels cover more high-end cars. Have you attempted to do any collaborations with other YouTube channels yet? And if so, has that been successful?
I've done one collaboration since starting the channel, actually, and it was with an automotive YouTuber similar to myself, similar kind of audience, similar kind of subscribers. I think part of the challenge is that people, myself included, have found that it's quite difficult to really, reach out and engage with a larger subscriber channel, particularly in the automotive world, because their content may not necessarily suit your content. So, for example, I look at the key players that I really, I look up to, the likes of Supercars of London, Mr. JWW and Seen Through Glass. They're kind of my inspirational automotive YouTubers, and the kind of audience they're targeting is the higher end exotic kind of car audience, whereas the audience I'm trying to target, there aren't that many people out there who are doing that. So I find it quite difficult sometimes to get that collaboration in with the YouTubers who are a lot higher up the subscriber rank. So you almost have to do a lot of grafting to try and make that collaboration work. So I think for any small YouTuber, and you are thinking of things such as collaborations, I think there's an element of, you need to be a bit realistic. If you drop a note to your favorite car YouTuber to say, hi, can we collab? Actually, have you built enough of an audience? What value are you going to bring to them? Because it's very easy for me to say, hi, yeah, let's do a video together and your viewers will watch me, but what are they getting in return? So there is an element of challenges around being a small channel, particularly, whether your content's good or not, but just the general exposure is difficult for us smaller YouTubers, I think.
Yeah. Have you met any of these YouTubers that you mentioned at meets?
I have actually, and the irony behind it is that recently, some of the stuff that I've done with Abarth, because of the work I've done the videos that I've produced actually helped me make influential sales, as we like to call them, I guess. And I used all of those comments and I spoke to Abarth as a brand and said, hey, this is what I'm doing for you guys. I'm selling cars for you. I've got proof that I've sold 26 cars. Is there anything you could do for me? And actually it was that kind of instigated the conversation, the relationship with the manufacturer, which involved me being invited to places like Goodwood Festival of Speed with them, where I had the opportunity to meet some of the bigger automotive YouTubers. So I've had a couple of engagement conversations with them. But I just don't feel the right thing to do when you've just seen someone say, hey, let's collab. I feel you have to build a relationship first.
Yeah. But it sounds like Stef ABtv as a brand, whether or not it doesn't have the reach in terms of numbers, it does have the reach in terms of influencing purchasers, I guess, which is a brilliant starting point for, I guess, a business aspect of a channel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I look at when I first started it, I would have never thought, if you said to me, Steph, within a year, you'll sell 26 Abarths. Was there really? No chance. But I guess that's the power of social media influencing, and particularly car manufacturers and a lot of manufacturers and brands are starting to awaken to the fact of how powerful social media is nowadays. And it's actually from those sales effectively that led me to be given the Abarth 124 Spider for the month to make videos with, and that enabled me to create what I feel is one of my best videos in terms of production. So they're almost little dot to dots that have helped me get to where I've got to now, and hopefully that will continue.
What were your expectations when you started YouTube? I mean, did you expect in less than a year's time you would be lent out a car to drive and then make a video about?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't, I didn't expect that at all. I think my expectations about it were that I wanted to create some videos, have some videos for people from the above community to look back on and enjoy, you know, in a year's to come time, show their kids at home, say, look what I did this weekend. I met a few of the guys, look at my car over there. My dad lives over in Spain. It's a great opportunity for him to watch some of my content as well. And that's kind of where I thought it was going to go, you know, a couple of home videos, put them together. And yeah, that was really it. I think I always had it in my gut to think I would love to be a massive YouTuber, but I don't think I had those expectations when I started the channel at all. I think it was mainly create some videos for myself and see where it goes.
And does it surprise you that the likes of us at vidIQ would say that your channel deserves a lot more views and subscribers than it currently has? And has anyone else actually said that to you?
I think the biggest one for me actually was when I was watching the video that you created on my channel, the part where you said that, you know, you reckon I should have 50,000 subscribers by this time next year. I think that took me by surprise. I really didn't think that, you know, my channel could potentially have that kind of reach and it could be valued by so many people. But I've had a couple of people say it to me before where they said, oh, you know, you should have loads more subscribers. You're better than this person. You're better than that person. So it is lovely to hear, and it's those kind of comments that make me feel that what I'm doing is adding value to people's lives, and that makes me want to continue doing it. But yeah, it is still a little bit of a surprise. I do think so. I
think the reason I and probably other viewers say that is because, yes, the topic is very niche, but the production values and you as a video content creator have so much more potential to expand beyond just being interested about a particular car. And I think hopefully in the future, as you say, I've seen on your channel that you've done a few things like a quick video on well, I guess it's not new now. The Batmobile will still be the one from the first Batman versus Superman movie, but also the Mercedes concept car as well. So there's opportunities there, and it's just a case of finding that breakout video which brings in a lot more of an audience, and then they'll look at your other content and say, wow, this is actually really good to watch, even if necessarily I'm not too interested in the above car. I'm interested in the way this presenter is introducing me to this vehicle.
Yeah, no, and it's funny you mentioned that specific clip as well, because the Batmobile video and the concept car, the Bruce Wayne concept car, that kind of came out by one of the guys who I met at one of the shows. He's effectively pulled me into a group of automotive YouTubers, if you like, you know, smaller channels. There's a couple of bigger channels in there as well. And I was invited down. You know, I got a call to say, Stef, do you fancy filming the new Batmobile and the Bruce Wayne concept car with Warner Brothers? I was like, absolutely, of course. And I think that's kind of where it's starting to head. I think that's the kind of direction I'd like to see my channel moving in the future, is being able to branch further out away from the above specific niche, but still covering content in that niche, because that's where I came from. It's what I'm still passionate about, but also, you know, use side videos, side audiences, side cars to try to be able to boost the growth through other platforms. But that was a really great opportunity that would have never have come up if I hadn't have started making YouTube videos.
And we were actually talking about this a little bit on our Twitter conversations, that you've been tinkering about with this video, which you're thinking, I have this great topic, which is the Justice League film, which is about to come out. Surely there'd be an audience interested in looking at a exclusive look at this car, and the views haven't quite worked yet, and maybe it's a little too early, or the thumbnail's not right. Have you ever felt frustrated that you've put so much work into particular videos and have not quite worked? As a small channel, obviously often suffers from that. You have one channel about Turbo Chatter, which has got 70,000 views, and then another one where you think, well, this one will definitely be successful, but isn't.
I think it would have just be me, and I think if I was to be honest about it, I think a lot of the small channels will feel very similar. The videos you think will, you know, the videos you think should do the best, for some reason, often than not, just don't seem to land, whether it's because of SEO, whether it's because of the competition. And it's the ones that you don't put all the effort into, and the ones that you just kind of think, you know what, let's just make this one, I think it will be a good one, are the ones that seem to blow up. Which sometimes can be frustrating, because I watch exactly the video you referred to, the Turbo Chat video, and I think, oh no, that's the one that's painting me. You know, I've produced so much better content since then. I wish people would just watch this video instead. So there is an element of frustration, and I think sometimes, for me specifically, I do get a little bit frustrated when I know I've put so many hours into a video. I thought I've nailed the pitch, I thought I've nailed the tags, and I guess because of the channel authority and maybe the way I've positioned the tags, the video just hasn't taken off. And sometimes it can be frustrating, absolutely, because you put all the effort in to not potentially see the results that you wanted to get out of it. Okay,
so hopefully you are going to hit 50,000 subscribers for my sake, if no one else's, in 2018. Yeah. And you commented on one of the vidIQ videos, and I assume you've downloaded the vidIQ tool. What aspects of vidIQ do you use on a regular basis, and what's your favorite tool?
So the scorecard I use religiously, and it's not just for new uploads. Recently, I've started to go back to some of the older videos that have started to get traction through views and watch time. And I've gone in using the vidIQ scorecard and looked at whether or not the SEO rank, what kind of tags am I using? How are they ranking at the moment? Are there any other tags that I could explore? I recently upgraded to vidIQ Boost, which is awesome, by the way, and I'm not just saying that, it genuinely is, because it helps you look at other videos at the moment which are really pumping out the views, and there's an opportunity to maybe jump on the back of that, kind of ride their coattail when you could potentially get onto their suggested list. So I've been using Boost quite a lot. And one of the most interesting ones, believe it or not, is from the moment when you created the video of my channel where the turbo chatter was my highest video, since using Boost and re-optimizing all of the tags, actually I've now got a new highest video, which is a 1200 PHP convoy to see a Bugatti Chiron, which effectively was optimized through your app, through vidIQ.
I noticed that, and then when I watched back and saw there was another video that had more views, I thought, oh, am I going to have to redo this again completely? But I thought, no, that's the reason why that's gone up. Another thing I would mention as well, if you're now on Boost, is that you have the keyword research tool, which we also featured in the case study, which just gives you an idea of related topics on the, well, for you, the above, but it's really good for finding long tail keywords, which small YouTube channels don't use that often, but you certainly do. That's one area where you always rank really highly. Whether or not there's 5,000 people searching for it or 10,000, that's 10,000 people who are completely underserved by YouTube. And I don't know if you've used bulk SEO yet, but that will tell you what keywords people are searching for and finding your video, even if you're not using that keyword. So check that out as well if you do have time.
But no, I have actually. Yeah, it helped me actually rank for a couple of the bath keywords in Japanese, which I never thought I'd be able to do. So thanks to bulk SEO, I managed to rank around the Japanese markets.
I know, that's interesting. Well, that you can actually use foreign language keywords to sort of position yourself. Maybe have some unique opportunities in the future. Who knows? Maybe
there you go. Who knows?
Japan. What are your greatest strengths as a YouTuber, you feel, and what do you feel you still need to improve on as a YouTuber?
Oh, that's a good one. I think my biggest strengths as a YouTuber, I think, you've talked about a couple of them. I think one, my general creativity, and I think I like to create a video that kind of always has a start, a middle, and an end, and I want it to have, I want it to be a story. So I think I will always try and make a video that delivers a story to the viewer, and I'll spend a lot of time planning it in order to make it almost perfect, which I think in turn is also one of my weaknesses, because there's been times where I have gone off topic a couple of times when recording videos because I just want to keep talking about things, and I thought, actually, I'm making a video about the engine and now I start to talk about the color of the sky. So sometimes reining it back in can be a bit of a challenge. And I think sometimes, particularly what I've learned is, especially at the car shows, I always seem to film way too much. And if I was to put all that content in a video, I end up with maybe a 45-minute video and 15 hours worth of production time, post-production, sorry. So that's something I'm still trying to work on, because I'd rather have more content and not use it than not enough and struggle to use it. But it adds so much time. So I think there's a piece there for me to develop myself in, almost understanding when I'm at the show, generally gauging the amount of content I have, and is that enough to create the story I want to deliver. And I guess the other side to that from a strengths perspective is the relationships that I'm able to build with the likes of the community, and we most recently with the brands as well, to be able to unlock those kind of opportunities. So yeah, mixed bag there, I think.
Do you notice your audience retention suffers when you feel as if you are rambling in videos? Because they are about, I said in the case study, they're about 9 to 11 minutes long, which is a good length, but it can cause quite a significant drop-off. Do you find that's an issue, or do you feel as if your videos are structured well enough to retain the audience?
No, I still think there's a couple of areas of improvement around that. I think recently, I think a while ago, I started to try and deliver almost a couple of snapshots at the start of the video of what people can expect to see, to almost try and keep that audience retention there. Because if they see something in those first 15 seconds, they may be more inclined to continue to watch, as opposed to if they start with not knowing what's coming up in the video, they may say, oh, this isn't for me. But I still think there's an area there for me to develop on. I think when I watch some of those videos back, I think, oh, I probably could have said that in half the time. And again, you can notice that through some of the audience retention.
And if you were to give one piece of advice to any video creator just starting out on their YouTube journey today, what would that be? I
think there's a couple of things. I think the most important one, if you're a small creator, I think you just need to put yourself out there. I think a lot of us smaller channels spend more time thinking about whether they should make a video and put it on YouTube and what people will think of it than actually doing it. I think you as the individual are your own blocker. If you think that you won't be able to do it, then you won't. Whereas if you believe, actually, you know, I'm going to give it a go, what's the worst that can happen? 3 people watch my video. You know, you've got to be passionate about what you're talking about. You know, if you're not passionate about it, it's going to come across on camera. No point me, for example, now starting a YouTube channel on something I have no idea about just because somebody else is doing it. It's getting views, because you might get one good video out of it, but you won't have a sustainable channel. And I guess the last point is just be confident in your own ability. You know, if you feel that you're good at something, if you put that confidence across on the camera, then more often than not, it comes across and people can engage and connect with you. And hopefully that then starts to build your channel.
I think the first thing you mentioned is like the best advice anybody can give. Just do it. It doesn't matter how it turns out. Just do it. And then try and enjoy the process, because the first thing about YouTube is not views or subscribers. It's how you feel about a YouTuber. Can you enjoy it? And if you can, then start to sort of think forward. Well, that brings us to the end of this interview, Stef. But I think what we'll do is we'll check back in 2018 when you pass 50,000 subscribers, and I'm sure you'll have a lot more stories to tell us on how the journey from 3.5 currently, or 3,700 to 50 went. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Rob. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to catching up with you next year. Hopefully to talk about how well we're doing, and not to say, Rob, what shirt are you eating?
Oh dear. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and I'll see you in the next vidIQ interviews. Bye for now.